Stock markets around the world wobbled today in response to a plan floated over the weekend to bail out the troubled banks of Cyprus. Part of the proposal now being reworked would take money from depositors to pay for the rescue. Cyprus, a tiny Eurozone island nation, has an economy the size of Vermont's, but a banking sector crippled by the Greek financial crisis with assets 8 times as great as the country's GDP, and therein lies the rub. The reemergence of Europe's financial woes comes as no surprise to many analysts. Listen to what former Fed Chairman Alan Greenspan told NBR Friday.
Europe has been hanging over the American markets now for quite a while. And the removal of that risk, at least temporarily, and I think it is only temporary, has enabled the underlying forces of the market to begin to come into vision.
And today, the clearer vision that Greenspan referred to was clouded by Cyprus. Sue Herera has our report on why Cyprus matters.
Cyprus is a small island with an even smaller economy. But right now, the world's biggest markets are closely watching what happens in the tiny Mediterranean nation.
It's a tiny nation and it is a tiny banking system to some extent. The reason why we care about it isn't, of course, Cyprus, just like it wasn't Greece. It's what it means for the bigger nations in Europe if they follow and go down the same path.
Banking is a huge part of Cyprus's economy, and it's a mess. If it fails, the country will probably fail too, and the European Union will not let the country fail. But here's the rub. The biggest customers of banks in Cyprus are wealthy Russians.
German taxpayers don't want to bail out the depositors in Cyprus because they're mainly Russians, and I think that's really what the issue is.
So European finance ministers say they will give Cyprus 10 billion euros, but the country is on the hook for the other 7 billion its banks need, and they don't have it. So they're going to charge bank depositors a fee. Even small investors who thought their savings were insured will take a hit. And the prospect of any government taking money from the private savings of its citizens has investors everywhere nervous.
This was a necessary step, but a single shot at the problem, and that from now on they can be very confident that nothing will happen to their savings.
The government says that this is just a one-time hit, and depositors are going to be compensated with bank shares. But with the stock market down some 60%, those shares are essentially worthless. The banks are closed now, and they won't open again until after Parliament votes on the bailout measure. But all across Cyprus, people are waiting in lines at ATMs to withdraw money from their accounts. And governments all over Europe are worried that their citizens might also take their savings out of local banks and cause a run on the banks of Europe. A banking panic could plunge the world economy back into recession. And that's why even the most seasoned Wall Street veterans are closely watching what happens on this tiny island in the Mediterranean. For Nightly Business Report, I'm Sue Herera.